Welcome back to Poetry and Police. Yes, big up to all my loyal subscribers. Big up to the members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The citizens of Jamaica who have identified that their civic duty is more important than just living in Jamaica and walking around and minding our own business. Now, what I feel like talking about today, and this is based off my life experience as a police officer, being an ex-detective right now. And when I was a police officer, what we had to use back then to do our jobs were limited. And now that the organization has reached a level where we have far more equipments than we had back in the 2007 and the early 2000s. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. When I was serving, technically there was one police to 100 murders. I remember before I left, the MIT started, and other divisions, other departments came into play. So now, police had more power, I would say. Police had more equipments, and with the integration of Jamaican Eye, and a whole lot of different upgrades has been done to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, even weapons too, and accoutrements. We call it accoutrements. I mean, bulletproof vest. You name it. I did not have a bulletproof vest. I can remember. So we used to work naked. Our lives was in danger. We were not protected, most of us, and we were not well paid, but we were overworked. And to me, the police of my era, I know the bigger Fords and the Leng were before me, and they had a even more heavier task than I had when I was serving, because back in those days, we call it Bigfoot police days, where police did not have any equipments to work either. And over the years, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the funding has improved with the police department, and equipments have been improved, gradually been improved. Not the way that I would like it to, but equipments have been improved. But the reason why I'm doing this video today, people, is to ask these questions. Now that equipments have been issued to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, more equipments that was there in my day, why is it that the crime levels is higher than in my day? No, this is the basis of my argument today, people. The police in my area, we did not have the equipment. The police in Cowboy, them and Hawks them days, bigger for them days, they never have the help of Jamaica Eye. They never have the help of nothing. We never have the help of nothing back in those days. But let me tell you something, people, and this is the first thing I'm going to say to you, that the difference between the new police officers nowadays and the police officers back then in my area and even before my era, you see, the first thing, we had respect for senior officers. We had respect for our supervisors. We have respect for senior ranks. Now, these police nowadays, they do not have any respect for senior ranks. They do not have any respect for nobody in seniority to them. That is how the force is nowadays. Like, everybody, them feel, so them go to university and them have a degree, then the man who don't have a degree, even though he's a sergeant, him can't talk to him. You understand? That is one of the things that is going on now. But what I'm saying, if I compare the policing that is happening now to the policing that is happening in my time or before my time, the policing before my time and the policing during my time is almost the same. We had less equipment, but yes, we put in more work. And that is the thing now, people. The new police, them nowadays have a whole lot of equipment, more than what we had. But the thing is, they are doing less work. More equipment, less work. And that's the reason why crime are escalating in Jamaica, because the police are get better police station now, better uniform, better gears, better equipment, but yet the work is less. Because they are doing less. And most of these police officers nowadays in the work, they not join the work for the police work. A double six thing or just a stone throw thing. Them join for the money where them can make. Because them feeds you can get rich as police overnight. And you have more hustlers in the Jamaica Constabulary Force now than more fools. Why I say a bit more fools? Because the fools in the Jamaica Constabulary Force were the ones that just work hard and don't work smart. A senior officer in Newton, he must want to tell me, Blake, you need to work smart and not hard. And, if you are ex-police officer or even a serving police officer, now you're a smart civilian out there, you will understand what they mean by work hard and not work smart. Understand? Like a police once told me that policing is the only job that you don't have to work and get your salary every month. I can remember when I was working at Huntsby, I was working with a sergeant by name of Miss Dixon. She's inspector. When she was inspector, she was promoted after that. And I remember Miss Dixon always said to me, Blake, boy, the amount of work that you do, go and collect your paycheck. Because I would wait to collect my paycheck, the work was more important than my paycheck. And Miss Dixon would always tell me, go collect your paycheck, you deserve it. And the type of work that we used to do back in those days, brethren, with no equipments, you hear me say, with no equipments and no support system, the type of work that we used to do back in those days, especially the CIB, which was the core. The CIB was the heart and soul of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. It was the limb. The CIB was the limb that bore all the fruits for the Jamaica Constabulary Force. I know I've sit here and I am looking into the Jamaica Constabulary Force and I see that the CIB has been defunct. Like the CIB does not exist anymore. That the Jamaica Constabulary Force does not rest the burdens and the arms of the CIB anymore. Because the CIB is no longer important. And you know why the CIB is no longer important, my friends? Because the CIB was the branch that looked deep into any crime. That the CIB was the branch that found out who in seniority was involved in the corruption and who his business was involved in corruption. And most of the CIB police, some of the CIB police officers were for sale. They were bought out. They were compromised. But let's not talk about the corruption right now that existed in the CIB, how the CIB was corrupted to cause crime not to be solved. But let's look into the Jamaica Constabulary Force at this time with more equipments, but less work. You see, people, let me tell you something. When I was stationed at the Huntsby police station, I was a young cop. And there was the Cowboys, and there was the Hawks. Right? And there was the Sergeant Masters and the Gunters and the George Williams. Those, when I just went to the Huntsby CIB, the amount of sergeants that was in the CIB, you trust me. There was a sergeant in charge of every team. Now, you go in the CIB at Huntsby, probably just one sergeant for the whole CIB. There was like 5, 6, 7, 8 sergeants in the CIB when I was there. So the CIB was properly supervised. And there was a competition between all of these sergeants to see who can solve the most crimes and who can make the most arrests. So back in my days, fighting crime was a competitive one. Whenever there was an information coming about gunmen seen or a firearm was stashed somewhere, it was a competition in the office, because in the CIB office at Huntsby at any one time you have 2, 3, 4 teams. You have at least 10, 20 police in the office at one time. Young men along with senior sergeants, detective sergeants, who were training the young detective to be good detectives. And whenever information would come in, the CIB would be the first on the scene. The CIB would be the first on murder scenes, not even the uniform. That was the CIB back in the day. That whenever information, it was a race to recover firearms in Huntsby. It was a race to respond to shooting scenes. It was a race to respond to shootings in the Huntsby CIB. You would see police literally running out of the station. When I say run, I mean racing out of the station, jumping into motor cars, and everybody at speed off, racing to go to a shooting, racing to recover a firearm. And those were the days of real policing. Now, If you go to the Hunts Bay police station and you stand up whole day, you will never see that again. You will never see that again. Sometimes I'm at Hunts Bay. When I was back in the day, I was stationed at Hunts Bay. I used to go to the 3 miles, to go to the gas station to pick up a juice or something. And you're walking back into the station, and when you look, you see beer man run out of the station, I run like them, they hear news, I run like somebody dead dying. And all you wouldn't even ask no question, you just jump in a car with a man and gone with them, because you in the car you find out, how I go on. Boy, gunmen seen. You understand, people? It was a race, people, to get to crime scene. It was a race to respond to shootings. It was a race to respond to gunmen scene. It was a race to information that a gun was hidden at some place. It was a race in the CIB. But those days, people, are no longer. And like I've said, the moral of this story is that the police officers in Jamaica nowadays are far more equipped, but they are doing less work. Back in my days and the days before, we were far less equipped, but we did more physical work. We were hungry to do police work. We were dedicated to do police work. The Cowboys and the Hawks at Hunts Bay, the Masters and the Gunters at Hunts Bay, the George Williams, the Parrock Campbell, the Eries. Understand? Those officers were active. And I can remember, frankly, I can remember there were patrols and there were always something implemented in the suppression of crime at Hunts Bay. There was zero tolerance week imposed on who had the most arrest. And everybody will go to arrest everything what we see on the street for ganja or whatever, just to boost morale amongst the men. Those things are not seen anymore in Jamaica can start for. There's no competitive nature between police officers anymore. It's just everybody coming down, sitting in the office, and pretty double sixes sitting down in the CIB office, wondering how they are going to make some money today. That is what is happening in the Jamaica Constabulary Force among the CIB police officers these days. Back in my days, the Cowboy and the Hawks implemented what is called Flag March, where Flag March was an operation which included uniform patrols, where the CIB would join, every CIB in the division would join. So if you have a CIB at Seaview, or CIB at Olympic Garden, CIB at Duane Park, and the CIB at Hunts Bay used to come together. Hawks used to lead it and Cowboy most of the time, but when Cowboy was not there, Hawks was leading the team. And we would put together on a patrol with at least 10 units, filled with all of CIB, covered with uniformed police officers, and we would patrol the whole division for certain hours of the night. We would choose the hours that we know criminal activities happen, and the whole division would be combed through for the night, suppressing all criminal activities for the whole night. And the Flag March was effective because the presence of the police was felt in the whole St. Andrew South division. People used to be appalled. People used to be grateful. People used to wonder where Hunts Bay gets so much police from. You understand me? Those were the days when police sacrificed their time, where police sacrificed their lives. Police sacrificed themselves for the members of the community, for the people in the St. Andrew South division. We were everywhere. You do not see those things happening anymore because the police officers that we have nowadays in the Jamaica Constabulary Force are undertrained, even though they are undertrained, even though they have better equipments. They work less, even though they have better equipments. That is the issue. That is the issue, people. That even though the police department is more equipped, they are less effective than back in the old days. Some people say bring back the old style of policing. Some people say the whole style of policing was too hardcore and it was too violent and it was too this and it was too that. That the days of the Cowboy and the Hawks and the day of the Trinities And the day of the Bud Spencers and the day of the Spungies are done and gone. And the days of the days of those great policemen are no more. And we do not want back those days in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Is it us that do not want it? Is it the Jamaican people who do not want this kind of policing to exist in Jamaica anymore? I know it is the Jamaica for Justice who does not want this kind of policies anymore. It's Indicom that does not want this type of policing anymore. It's the criminal elements in our society that does not want this kind of policing anymore. Because that type of policing, my friends, was effective. What did I say? Those type of policing, the hardcore policing, was effective. Don't let people come forward and talk about that type of police was not effective. They will do and they will say anything to change the narrative, to make it seem as if hardcore policing in Jamaica was not relevant and it was not effective. They will make it look as if the Adams type of policing was not effective. They are trying everything to let you believe that that style of policing was not effective. And I know some law-abiding citizens in Jamaica who knows their civic duties. That if you are not a criminal, then you will not be affected by hardcore policing. Because hardcore policing was meant to affect hardcore criminals in Jamaica. And Jamaican criminals are the hardest kind of core criminals in the world. So much that they can be construed as terrorists. The Jamaican criminal need a police department that is proactive, brethren. A police department that is no nonsense. A police department that will bring the war to their footsteps as the war that they are issuing to the people of Jamaica. A police department who is ready to fight them with the same type of violence that they are using against the society. Because you can't carry a machete into a gunfight. And that is what the authorities in Jamaica, to include the Jamaican for Justice and the Income, wants the police to do. They want the police to carry a baton to a gunfight against gunmen with AK-47s and other high-power rifles, even rocket launchers. That is what they want us to do. Men in Jamaica are flinging grenades and firing rocket launchers at the police and at civilians. And they want the police to go with rubber bullets. It was in time past. It was recommended that the Jamaican police should carry rubber bullets. It is also recommended that the CIB police must not carry rifles. No, people. The CIB police was the type of police who would go to the depths of the community to dig out the most dangerous and violent criminals. Why would you not want such police officers to be armed accordingly? You have to fight fire with fire, you know. And you see, until the Jamaican authorities believe wholly and solely that the police department needs to fight fire with fire, we need to fight these violent criminals with the same type of violence, then the murder rate in Jamaica will never cut. It is stipulated in the books from English days, because Jamaica operates on English laws, that murder is a non-preventable crime. Yeah, and I believe it is. But how can we cut the murder rate in Jamaica? What do we do to cause the Jamaican murder rate to cut down? All right, firstly, which murders are the most popular murders in Jamaica? The most popular murders in Jamaica is gang-related murders. Now, how do we stop gang-related murders? We stop gang-related murders in the first place by getting rid of the gangs. Now, how do we get rid of the gangs? We get rid of the gangs in the first place by getting rid of corrupted politicians who are assigning men as area leaders and area dons to run gangs. And we get rid of the gangs. We uproot the gangs out of the communities. We get rid of the gangs. And by get rid of the gangs, that is how we slow down the murder rate in Jamaica, because Jamaica's major murders are gang-related murders. How do we get rid of those gangs? We get rid of those gangs by hardcore policing. You can't go fight gang war with community policing. You can't fight gang war with button. You can't fight gang war with sweet talk and 9mm pistols when they are firing bazookas and AR-15 rifles and N4 rifles. No, you have to fight gang warfare with elite police officers. I'm not just talking about police officers who sits around and wait on information. I am talking about proactive police officers like back in the day of Cowboy and Hawks and Trinity and Spunky and Bud Spencers. That is the days we are talking about. That is the days we are talking about. That if we do not get back to that kind of police officers to take on these gangbangers, then the murder rate will continue to escalate in Jamaica. Because these police officers and that type of police officers, that type of policing used to attack the very core of gang violence in Jamaica. So the only way to reduce Jamaica's murder rate is attack the gangs head on. And the only way to attack the gangs head on is by having an elite police department, like how the CIB was. We do the information at the same time, we collect the intel at the same time, and we are the same ones. We are the same ones acting on the intel. And we are ruthless, just like the gunmen that we are trying to root out. And we are fearless, just like the gunmen that we are trying to root out. And we are dedicated to the cause. And we work whether we have equipment or not. They say that policing is copy work. And over the years, as a young policeman stationed at Huntsby, we would have emulated the actions of the Cowboys and the Hawks. And we would have emulated the actions of the Bud Spencers and the Gunters and the Masters. And we want to be them. And they were our mentors and our heroes. But only to those police officers who took the work seriously and believe that we can reduce crime by our actions. We can reduce crime by working hard, by dedicating ourselves to fighting crime. People, unless we go back to the days where a phone call comes in that a gunman is seen, and police officers are seen racing out of the Huntsby CIB into the yard and jumping in police jeeps to respond to gunmen seeing a firearm or a potential recovery of firearm or a shooting, then the Jamaica Constabulary Force is not doing any work. We are dead in the water in terms of fighting crime. Until we go back to those days where police are eager, sitting in the office and eager to hear that there's a robbery taking place, so they can go out there and get some work done and catch that robber. Or hear that there is a gun somewhere that they can go out there and find that gun and arrest somebody, or a boy get gunshot, him get gunshot. If him attack the police department, if he attack the police. People, if Jamaica does not have those type of police officers anymore, then our crime efforts are in vain, and it does not matter the equipments that we have. And like I said, these police officers are far more equipped these days, but guess what? They work far less. They're far less knowledgeable. They're far less interested in fighting crime. They're far less dedicated to the cause. There's no esprit de corps amongst police officers anymore. And that is the reason why you have some young dog seat police going around disrespecting senior police officers and senior and members who have left the organization after doing so much good work. Because there's no respect among our peers. There's no respect for seniority anymore. There's no dedication to the cause. A matter of fact, there is no cause. People, as an ex-detective who saw the cause and was a part of the cause in the St. Andrews division, what are we seeing now? Policing has no cause anymore. There's no cause for these young police officers. They are not dedicated to a cause. And that is the reason why everybody is dragging their feet. Everybody just waiting for the mountain to come to collect their salaries. Everybody's just doing social media. Everybody just videoing themselves in their uniform and playing 666. There's nobody fighting the cause anymore. And the little few who probably are still interested in fighting the cause they fear authority. And they are unpromoted and they are suppressed because they want to fight the cause. My fellow Jamaicans, my viewers and subscribers, the police department does not have a cause. The police officers who are serving the Jamaica Constabulary Force nowadays does not have a cause. The CIB does not exist anymore. It is not up front anymore. The CIB is on the back burner of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. There's no dedication among the men. There's no cause. And if there's no cause among our police officers, then how will Jamaica's crime problem slow down if there is no cause? We need to find a way to get back to those days when police officers had cause and police officers had dedication beyond just making some money. When a police officer would have given his life for a member of the public, I would have given his life for his matty, for the man beside him, where bad mind was at a minimum, and making money was at a minimum, and the maximum was at preventing crime from happening. You see, Jamaica, the police department, the authorities and the Jamaica for Justice and the Indicom has forced the police department not to be proactive, but to be inactive. Not to be proactive to try to solve the crime before it happened, not to stop the crime before it happened, but just to wait until the murder has committed, then we just go on the scene. And after we lift the yellow tape, then that's it. That is how the Jamaica for Justice wants the police department to act. They don't want the police to take out the disease in the society that's messing up the Jamaican society. They do not want the police department to get rid of the hardened criminals that are the decay of the Jamaican society. They do not want that. And like I have always said, crime pays, but who benefits? A friend of mine said the police benefit from crime, in a sense. But what we need to understand that gang violence is always the type of violence that includes a leader, and most of the leaders are people in high society. The police has no morals anymore. The police department has no moral. The police department has no axis anymore. The police department does not have a sense of direction anymore, from my observation. The CIB is dead. And the CIB was the proactiveness of the police department. It was the strong arm of the police department to root out the criminals before they commit the crime and even after they commit the crime. To get rid of the undesirables in the society who are causing pilferage on the Jamaican society and the Jamaican people. That was the job of the CIB. And until the CIB is multiplied and accessorized with a purpose and a cause, the crime rate in Jamaica will continue to escalate. The Commissioner of Police and the Minister of National Security and the leaders of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, none of them that I've just mentioned are interested in reactivating the CIB to its full strength. None of them are interested to accessorize the CIB and make the CIB the talk of the town like it was before. If you observe people, all the hardcore police officers from back in the day, the Lengs, the Bigger Ford, the Hucks, the Cowboys, the Masters, the Gunters, the Bud Spencers, the Trinities, they all hailed from the CIB. What that tells you? That the CIB police was a cut above the rest. The CIB police was the strong arm. The CIB police was the heart of getting rid of crime and violence out of Jamaica. And what have they done? They have made the CIB sterile. Because our authorities, our political leaders do not want crime and violence to stop in Jamaica. They want it to excel. So their security companies, their friends who own security companies, can have more contracts. So all what we have in Jamaica now is gated communities now where we have private security, where nobody depends on the police anymore for security. We depend on private security where we have to pay for that. And then they all benefit from that. So how are we going to get back the cars in the Jamaica Constabulary Force? How are we going to stop murders in Jamaica? We need the CIB to be renewed and revitalized. That's what we need, people. It is time for us to fight back for the CIB. It's time for us, the Jamaican people, to fight for the police officers who had a cause. And not the ones that going around and beating up people and disrespecting their old police officers, which is a bunch of 666.